Music!
Oh God, mate. All right. Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture, and we're going to do something a little bit different today, because music, just like gaming and just like film and a little bit of TV, is worth talking about.
It's very important.
Yes, and I was just thinking the other day that online, especially on YouTube and stuff, there's not that many places to go if a new album's just came out to have a lovely little discussion about it. So, because Foo Fighters has been out for 12 days-ish?
Yeah.
At time of recording. And we've both been listening to a lot of it, and it's a pretty big deal.
Every day.
Yeah.
Very big deal.
With a bit of concrete and gold, as they say. So we thought we'd just sort of break it down. We thought we'd talk about Foo Fighters' latest release, how sort of relevant Foo Fighters are anymore, how it's kind of become really fashionable in a way to sort of, talk down to Foo Fighters a little bit.
It has.
We'll break all that stuff apart. My name is Scott Tailford, and I'm joined by Mr. Simon Gallagher. And we're going to have a sort of round table guest spot thing.
It's more of a rectangle.
Well, yeah, this is based on whatever comes out in the future. We're kind of going to focus on rock stuff and metal stuff and that kind of thing, because I honestly think that those fan bases are way more engaged and we'll have way bigger discussions on whether X guitarist is better than X or whatever. I mean, the reception to this is going to dictate how much further forward this thing goes.
If you say you want to hear more about Collie Ray Jepsen,
Mr. Adam
we
Cleary.
probably won't do that.
Stop making fake accounts to do that.
Yeah.
But yes, so at the minute we're going to go with Foos, because that's a nice little middle ground for all this stuff, and we'll see how it goes. So, this originally came out on September 15th. What was your gut reaction, and how are you finding it now that you've lived with it for a bit?
Well, I was initially grabbed by grabbed by Dave Grohl. It was a great experience. By Run and Skies a Neighborhood, because they're such good singles, and I'll be honest, I didn't actually know when the album was coming out.
Right, okay.
So it sort of leapt out of nowhere.
I did think they didn't do a great job of hyping it in terms of the
compared to the last ones, especially Sonic Highways. I knew about that for ages.
Same with Wasteland Light.
Probably because it was linked to a TV show. That one.
But when you think
this was not a bad thing. I like that it came out like that, and I could experience it sort of
in its own time.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a new sort of marketing push, considering how much hype gets leveled at, any old film, it crumples under the hype. I think Foos were quite confidently just going here's the latest thing that we did, and here's this making of animation that we've made, and if you want to go check it out, here you go.
It's not like they need it.
No, of course. I mean, anything they put out is going to be lapped up anyway, and obviously the size of the band speaks for itself at this point. But I do like, because, we've kind of talked a little bit amongst ourselves about, the general feel of the new production. They've got a new production guy on this, new producer, called Greg Kurtzton, who is more of a pop guy. He's known for doing, Adele and Sia.
Yeah.
And
doing their albums.
Yeah, he just does them. And Grohl was talking about how when he talked to this guy, or he talked to the band about bringing in this pop guy, obviously the natural reaction from a lot of rock-focused people, and when you read about
pop.
it, it's oh God, what the hell are they going to start doing, Adele things?
Yes.
But I think it's worked. I think the overall feel of Concrete and Gold is a much bigger sounding album.
It is. It's extremely glossy.
Yeah.
Even in Foo Fighters' past work, you expect a sort of ruggedness to the sound. You expect Dave Grohl's voice to growl,
right,
and his guitar to sort of reflect the same thing, and you get a little bit of the garage rock sort of sound. But it isn't there at all on this. I think it's the most polished Foo Fighters album that I've ever heard.
I don't know, I'd kind of counter that a little bit with songs like La Di Da, or or the crunch of Run, when that kicks in.
Yeah, I agree on La Di Da.
Because I thought it was hilarious that the radio edit for Run cuts out the screamy stuff.
Yes.
Because people won't, they can't put up with that.
Yeah, don't understand screaming on the radio.
I don't know, but I like that. I like that he sort of did a little, because I loved when White Limo and Wasting Light was really screamy and heavy again.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, unless I'm just missing anything, there's nothing on Sonic Highways that's as heavy as that, or as screamy as that, or as raucous as that.
No, because it's more a celebration of other people's music rather than...
Yeah. But even when he was doing the punk stuff, he didn't do a full-on brazen punk song.
No.
So I was glad to see some of that stuff come back, because that's the general thing. Even though you've got this pop guy on the side of the production side, he still let Grohl kind of let rip on some of those songs, and something like the crunch of Run, he's proper going for it.
Yeah.
I like the La Di Da chorus as well.
Yeah, it's very, compared to the rest of the album, actually that sticks out a lot, because it's a sort of more of a visceral song rather than you get the later songs are a bit more Beatlesy.
Yeah, well, there's a Beatle on here.
It's just, exactly. Well, it's a good segue, that, isn't it?
Well, it is for a question I've got in 2 or 3 questions time, but we'll get there.
Jump ahead.
But yeah, that's one of the things, with the general sort of tonality of it, is you talk about, Foo Fighters over the years. Obviously, they've got these huge singles, Let It Fly and Best of You, and, everyone has their own favourite Foo Fighters song. But, because this taps into another point with this, the whole thing of people sort of talking down on Foo Fighters, obviously they're going to headline Glastonbury again, or they might headline Leeds again, or whatever.
I think in particular, it's the Glastonbury thing.
Yes. What do you mean by that? Because you mentioned to me that you think like people are more negative on them.
Yeah, it was the same with Metallica. When Metallica headlined Glastonbury, if you do that, you get a different reputation immediately.
True.
I think metal fans are a lot more accommodating of it. So if you do it, they're fine with it because it sort of brings them more mainstream.
A little bit.
Than pop, but I mean like when there's pop fans who experience that, it becomes...
Playing a song, man.
Yeah.
Do the one we know.
Yeah.
Stop doing the thing from the album.
It becomes more of an issue for them. And the same as U2 and anybody of that sort of level, it's easy to take them down. I don't like U2.
Oh, I was going to say, mention U2.
I just mean it's popular. Coldplay as well. I mean, these aren't the same sort of bands, but you get to that sort of level, and headlining Glastonbury is that sort of indicator.
God, man, I never thought of it that way. If you think of, like, do you think Foo Fighters have crossed into that echelon of
I genuinely
dad rock?
Well, yeah, I'm a dad. I love Foo Fighters. No, I don't. I don't know. I don't think that's.
It doesn't have to be a bad thing. The thing with Foos, because obviously everyone talks about, like, the thing people say about Foos is that they're no one's favourite band. Now, I did know one guy at my university they were his favourite band.
They're my second favourite band.
Right. But your favourite band's AC/DC, unless I get this wrong.
No, it's Biffy.
Used to be.
It's Biffy Clyro. It used to be.
Right, okay.
It's Biffy.
So, like, but that's the thing. You think of, like, the most stalwart bands that have stood the test of time. There are bands like AC/DC and Motorhead that have a sound and just very slowly iterate on it.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that. I think if you can do something very, very well, keep doing it.
Yeah.
And Foos have been one of those bands that obviously they had a whole string of massive singles back in the day. And that was what I was going to say with the progression over time. I don't necessarily think they've had a song as big as something like Times Like These or Learn to Fly in the last, like, 4 albums-ish. Like, it's been a long time since they've had I guess Best of You would have been 4 albums ago.
Yeah, the Pretender for me is just about
Pretender was huge.
But I think I don't know whether it's the same sort of level.
But does that reflect the general mentality towards Foos, that people aren't that willing to get stuck into an album and pull a song out of it? It probably reflects the larger sort of mentality as to how people consume music, that we're not all just like watching Kerrang or whatever music channel it is.
I think that's
consuming
right.
the music video. Because Foo Fighters, I think, are an incredibly solid band and always have been, and something like Concrete and Gold has so much to it.
Yeah,
in terms of rolling together all their different sounds.
I think there are songs that fit that sort of Times Like These. It's a little bit generous to say it, but I think Run is one of their best songs in a long time, and I think it sort of gets there. I think
Something from Nothing.
Yeah. Copyright infringement. I think when you look at the best Foo Fighters songs, you think of them as being belted out in stadiums back at the band, and I think Run fits that. I also think Sky's Neighborhood almost gets there as well. I don't think the rest of them do. It is. They're amazing. Amazing songs. And you don't expect that from 9 albums in.
No. But I
don't think they'll get the credit for it either because it's 9 albums in and the rest of the album is so, like you say, it's sort of like a greatest hits of sounds.
But I mean, but I don't mean that in a negative way, because I
don't think.
I think for me, like, going off, like, when you put Concrete and Gold on and you listen to it all the way through, you can pick apart, like, okay, that's a more screamy section, that's from earlier Foos, like, they're bringing in the new stuff, like the choir stuff, and like it makes sense that Foos would get this bigger, more operatic almost sound. I mean, he's got one of the guys from Boyz II Men singing on there, and I think that stuff works. I mean, where else are they going to go, really? But just because they've hit the top doesn't mean that they're bad.
No,
it just means that they've hit the top.
It's ridiculous. People will say now, maybe before this album, that the Foo Fighters sold out, as if it's just being that mega successful means naturally.
But they've never done like a pop song. Like, I mean, my mind there went to Bullet for My Valentine.
Yes,
because they sold out. Like, songs like Riot was just so horribly poppy, and like a lot of bands do that. Not
necessarily sold out in terms of the music. In terms of, like, Dave Grohl has become this other thing apart from the guy who's in Foo Fighters. He's sort of. Like, I said it to you, he's the best guy. Dave Grohl is the best guy.
Of him.
The best of him, yeah.
Hey-o. Not him, though.
So...
Not the band, him.
No. Not even Billy Well is the best of him. You've just destroyed my point.
Well, you could have kept going. You are about Dave Grohl's
Dave Grohl has become something else, yeah. Like Bono did the same thing in a bad way. Like, he became a cliche. Sorry, Bono. But Dave Grohl is like... He's sort of like rock Jesus.
He is, yeah.
And I think a lot of people like him, even if they don't like Foo Fighters.
Well, it was a really interesting interview on Ultimate Guitar, talking about Dave Grohl, the rest of the band, and they were talking to the other members of the band, and Taylor Hawkins was like, I've learned when to shut up, like when my opinion isn't needed. And that's obviously become one of the things, especially if you watched Back and Forth, the documentary on Foos, where Grohl, again, the other ex-drummers that have been kicked out of Foos, talked about how Grohl would go back and on The Colour and the Shape, how he actually re-recorded the drum parts because he was like, they're not good enough, and I want them proper. Like, he obviously does have this overseer mentality, but that's why Foos are so consistent. It's all coming from one guy.
Yeah.
Like, Metallica just got back in the ring in a big way with Hardwired.
Yeah.
Like, personal huge Metallica fan, but that album is way more better received than Death Magnetic and Saint Anger. Sicker Saint Anger.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. If you have a guy like Grohl that can sort of command a whole band, I think it does work overall. But does that have a negative effect when it's not the band people are looking out for? They're just looking for, like, I don't know, like trying to catch up with whatever Grohl's been on about.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. But I think they're all extremely talented. And I think the fact that they've stayed for that long in Foo Fighters proves that. And Dave Grohl thinks it definitely. I actually did think that Taylor would be a bit of an issue. Because I always felt like his sort of spirit wanted to get out a bit more.
Well, he does have his solo projects.
Yeah, which is, but I mean in Foo Fighters, and I know Dave Grohl does give him the opportunity to do sort of some things like
he sings
sing
on Dirty Water.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's great. But it's good. It's a good thing that Dave Grohl leads this band as much as he does. That he's all over the place in the band.
Well, I think that was, to get back to the album, this is a sort of twin discussion on Foo Fighters as a band and also the album. Grohl's, a lot of the guest spots that are on here, from Justin Timberlake to What's His Chops from Boyz II Men.
It's just weird.
Or Alison Mossad, who's like from The Kills, I think. People like that, they all came about because he's the one with the contacts and he just brings them all together. But I do view Concrete and Gold as a very solid, very, very solid album.
Yeah.
And for me, I've just been like, I absolutely love stuff like in the middle of Dirty Water, you've got this really cool like break, with this like, electronic break where it feels like they kind of go in a completely different direction for a while, they bring it back. Stuff like La Di Da, the chorus is really screamy. What do you think of the title track? Because that gave me a really like Sabbath vibe, or Sabbath and Pink Floyd.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know whether I immediately went. I checked what I thought was going to be the singles. This is what I do for some reason in this album.
How do you check them?
Well, I listen to them as soon as they come up, but I listen in the order of what I think the singles are going to be. So if you've heard singles and then
you listen to an album order.
No, I didn't listen to an album order.
Mate.
Not the first time, because I thought that Concrete and Gold was going to be the next single. Like I assume because it's called that.
Right. Oh, actually, speaking of singles, which the hardcore Foo fans will be shouting us out, we missed the line. The line was the third single.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, the fourth single.
Fourth single?
No, I mean Concrete and Gold.
Oh, yeah. But that's the whole thing with Concrete and Gold. For being a title track, it's got to be one of their most experimental tracks they've ever done.
Totally, yeah.
Like, outside of having a whole half of, the one In Your Honor. Yes. In Your Honor's second disc was all acoustic, and that was a bit of an experiment. Concrete and Gold, though, has this whole, like, Sabbath riff underneath it, then it goes into this big operatic Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb kind of chorus, and it kind of rings for me, I liked all those callbacks.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's something that he's picked up from on Sonic Highways, where he was channeling all of those influences into his music that much. I think he's doing that a lot more now, because you can see it all the way through, like the Beatles and Floyd and Sabbath, and it's very obviously there. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that's one of the things that's been criticised for, is this range of sounds, as if that's in some way a bad thing, as if you want to hear 20 AC/DC albums that are exactly the same.
True.
But I like
what
them.
that is.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because my mind goes to compare them to people like AC/DC or Motorhead or bands that know what they're doing. And Foo Fighters have always known what they're doing, but I do think there's a hell of a difference between like the very first album, the self-titled, through like if you compare title tracks, like Colour and the Shapes is incredibly like screamy and heavy and like punky kind of thing, all the way through to like Concrete and Gold, which is this big, massive, sprawling like string section thing.
The difference between them and somebody and some other band, I'll go to Biffy because they're my guys.
They're absolutely awesome.
So they start, through their progression of their albums, you get a progression of sound to becoming this really tight sort of, and they got a bigger sound rather than a noisier sound. But you see theirs as a progression of ability.
Yeah.
In Foo Fighters terms, they didn't just get better as the albums went on; they got different. And this album, for me, is different, different again, which I think is you should cherish these sort of surprises, Scott.
Well, I do.
Yes,
like you
but some people don't. That's the problem.
I tell you what, because we can talk a little bit about. We should probably wrap it up at some point. We can talk about a little bit about negative things.
Yes.
There's nothing that strikes me particularly as negative. Some of the lyrics are a little bit rote, and just like some of the ways that he sings about specific topics, it feels like things that have been done before. But I really wish you would just let Chris Shiflett just go nuts for a bit more. Like, I love that bit in Something for Nothing where like he just screams like, all right, and then Shiflett just goes mental. Like, I love that. Like, I was a huge fan of guitar music and whatever. Guitar music, you know what I mean? Yes. Guitar playing. I love all that stuff. And there aren't really any solos in Concrete and Gold. There's one in Run, but it's not really a solo as such, like necessarily, in terms of the scales that it uses. But yeah, in terms of stuff that I would want more of, I kind of would like them to be more of a band. Like, I feel like I really liked in Rope when they first got Pat Smear back on Wasting Light, and Rope had this bit, you could tell it was 3 guitars that were all like punching together. That big sound, arena sound, was so good to hear. Yeah. And obviously Sonic Highways, you had Chris Shiflett coming in, and like Mendel got to do a bit more bass on that stuff. But I feel like the sound here, which I've seen some critics criticize it for, is that everything kind of congeals together a little bit. It is this big sound, but no one stands out.
Yeah, I think that's the influence of pop production.
Maybe.
I think that it naturally becomes more one sound rather than disparate parts, when rock music is often about good disparate parts. It's funny, like, I don't think this is arena rock music as much as it has been in the past. Some of it is, obviously. There's 3.
Sky's a neighborhood, is it?
Run as well, I think is. Even The Line is a little bit
The Line's
more.
got a great chorus.
But Arrows. I don't think but to a lesser extent, I think the rest of it is not. I don't think that's a criticism.
No.
Because most people don't listen to music in arenas or festivals anymore.
No. Probably not even an album order. Some of us.
I know. Crazy people.
I don't even know who would do it.
That's shuffle on Spotify.
You don't shuffle the first time.
I shuffled it this afternoon, and I was like, wow, this sounds like a really good, old-fashioned Foo Fighters song. It turned out I was listening to actually old Foo Fighters songs as well.
Just gave something from the first album. Oh, he's gone back to his roots a bit.
This sounds very familiar.
But yeah, so overall, I think we are incredibly positive on this, and we thought that just based on the general sort of landscape of YouTube and the way that music is discussed these days, tends to not fall back on features like this. I personally don't see very many roundtable discussions, or just critics in general. So you guys can let us know what you think in the comments. If you've picked up a Foo Fighters album, like, shout out your favourite songs, the worst things, whether it is fashionable or not to hate on Foo Fighters, and let us know if you'd like to see more of this. We'll hopefully delve into bands like Metallica, the big ones, the ones that get everybody talking.
Collie Ray
Jepsen. And we'll catch you guys next time. I've been Scott from WhatCulture.
And I was Simon from WhatCulture.
He was. We'll catch you in a bit.